4, 3. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Day-Night Show matches. This is the beginning of October, and thus the beginning of our new format test. We will be casting some replays sent to us by the players today, and these were played over the past 2 weeks. We have a Legacy of the Void match first up from Gurthang and Fenton. So I had a for-fun question that I asked them. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But first of all, I am casting with Mr. Zero Lambda today. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Good news this week. I did pick up a new job, so there's always that.
Yay!
The interview went well. Literally 20 minutes after I left the interview, they called me and offered me the job. So they either really needed people or they were really impressed by what I could do. So
yeah, you blew out the competition.
Yeah,
sure.
so that was that was good. Good news. So hopefully I start that soon on the 12th.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll be able to join you on that by next year.
Yes.
But we'll see.
Fingers crossed,
Anyway.
everybody. It'll happen.
Yeah, here's hoping. But anyway, for now, we have this. So the for-fun question, which we can answer as well if we want. It's not necessarily required. We can think about it and do it at the end if we need to. Is simply this. Do you know... What languages do you know? And if you had the chance, what language would you like to learn?
Okay, interesting.
So for Gurthang, his answer is, sadly, I currently only know English and a few words of German. If I ever have the opportunity, though, he wants to learn Swedish and Finnish.
Swedish and Finnish. Interesting choices.
Gurthang and Fenton, by the way, are both gold-level players. We'll be playing Protoss. This is a Legacy of the Void match, so you might see a few things you're not used to and a few things that you probably are. DTs maybe a little less likely. Adepts, 100% likely.
100%
Adepts
likely.
are always in the forecast. Anyway, Fenton's answer. I speak English, I hope I do, and I know a little German.
I hope.
I would like to learn more German since it's pretty heavy in my field, which is chemistry. One time I started speaking to a friend in German in line at Subway, and I was talking about cats, pretty harmless topic, and then a 5-year-old boy behind me with his mom started crying. His mom said, it's okay, he's just practicing his German, which the little boy continued to cry, saying it scared him. Never felt so guilty in a Subway before, but the buff chicken was worth it.
He started speaking German and scared a small child. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Kind of is.
Well,
Funny.
You've heard German spoken and sung, right? Have you listened to Rammstein at all?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, they could say the most cutest, harmless crap, and if you say it in German, you sound like you're ready to rip somebody's face off.
They really should do that. They should, create a music video styled just like their other videos. It's all dark and, heavy and everything, but they're talking, about cats.
Cats.
Just not make their voices cute at all. It'd be amazing.
Oh my god.
That's the ultimate foreigner troll, because foreigners would like it and not really look up the lyrics.
Right.
It would be so good. They're probably not the type of band to do that, unfortunately.
I don't know. I heard their live shows and stuff are pretty awesome, so maybe they would. So cool, but how about you? How many languages do you know?
I'm only fluent in English. I do know some Japanese, and I do know some Latin. Latin's much fuzzier. The Japanese I can kind of use for 5 minutes in a conversation before I run out of words. That's a long-term project of mine, though, is to get fluent in that, pretty much.
Okay.
What about you?
Me, fluent in English only. I used to be not really fluent in Spanish, but I used to be able to be pretty good at it. I took 4 years of high school Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
But, once you stop using it, then it just disappears. Japanese is very spotty. It's here and there. I can pick up words in a conversation, kind of get the basic idea, but I will never be able to respond.
It's hard, yeah.
I actually tested this out with my phone. You can change Siri to a Japanese mode, and it doesn't interpret English anymore. So it was fun to ask it, pretty standard questions, like, how are you? And stuff like that, and hear it respond. It's really cool.
Huh.
But beyond that, no,
it's
just spots of, a lot of the European languages like German, Spanish, things like that, they're very rooted in Latin. So if you look at the roots of a lot of words, you can kind of divulge where they come from, because that's where English comes from.
Okay.
So you pick it apart and you give it just a second. And you kind of look, yeah, that word looks kind of like that, and sure enough, yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Okay. Well, I believe the series we're looking at here is supposed to be a best of 5 since it's their third, but they might have just played a best of 3. Remember that people do have the option on that. So we are going to be checking this out. Either way, we have PvP. Orange versus purple.
Mm-hmm.
Fun colors.
Orange versus purple.
Orange.
Orange.
Remember when the creep coloring was kind of dark, so if they grabbed like dark purple, you'd be like, I can't tell.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Is on the
that was a Wings thing too. Like
yeah,
the coloring was kind of off. And
glad they adjusted that.
Yeah, they would pick it on ladder because they would blend in with their own ground.
Yeah. I think Gurthang has practiced enough in the past to be about platinum, and then Witcher 3 came out, and then he's gold again, pretty much.
Yeah.
But gold in Void is essentially platinum. So.
I just got an achievement for playing a replay, guys, so there's that. And I am unfortunately unable to hide this overlay with the normal hotkey.
Yeah, I just tried that too, and it didn't work, so I'm going to have to mess with some stuff later. But, well, what can you do? Anyway, we are on, I believe this is Bridgehead.
Yep.
Right?
Bridgehead ladder edition.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bridgehead, top mid-left part of the map, we have our orange Protoss player. It is Gurthang.
Gurthang. His opponent spawning in the center right-hand corner of the map with the purple Protoss. It is Fenton.
Right, so what they're talking about right now is something you guys might not be familiar with if you haven't been keeping track of Legacy of the Void. This is a new version of Chrono Boost. It is always active, and it immediately activates on your Nexus.
Very
you
good.
can move it anywhere. If you move it, you have 4 seconds before you can move it again. And the reason for that is so that when you're trying to move multiple Chrono Boosts, you don't like move the same Chrono Boost 4 times. You have the ability to move more Chrono Boosts without it getting like stuck. We tried it the other way. It's not as fun. This is magic. It is 20% weaker. Yes, that is true. Like the macro mechanics overall were supposed to have been slightly nerfed from what they used to be.
Right.
There was something they kind of tested out. It might not stay. I think this one is sticking. The mule one is going to get adjusted. It's still functionally basically like old Darren, though. That's not too much different.
Right. And I'd like to apologize in advance. Some of the textures are going to be milky here since this is our first game of the day, and my client was not completely done by the time I started this. So just give it a second. Things should pop in eventually here.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, but yeah, it'll be fine within a game or two. In any case, it looks like we're seeing pretty much a standard setup here, which a lot of players tend to go kind of cybercore, double gateway, something. So in this case, we can see that Gurthang he just opted for a quicker Nexus rather than the second gateway. That's going to probably create a little bit of a resourcing issue for him at some point, and he'll, especially if you want to go down the Adept route. If he doesn't, then he has options there. As you can see, he's just scattering with Pro.
Yep.
Fenton, however, has gone for double gateway and is actually getting a number of Zealots. I am intrigued to see what he is saving up his gas for, other than, of course, Warp Gate.
Gurthang poked a probe in there, got taken out pretty handily. The Zealot swiped it once, and the Mothership Core came in to finish it off. So, but Gurthang, seeing exactly what Fenton is going for, drops a robotics facility.
I think this is probably a decent choice because, you see that many Zealots coming out. You see the fact that he's mining gas. Okay, yeah, you know Cybercore is worth about 50, but what's the rest of that gas for? What you doing, buddy? Is a question I'd sort of be asking myself at that point. We can see it's mostly just for a Mothership Core. He's gotten that out. But, without having seen that, you might be wondering, is he setting up for a Twilight Council? And it's like, I don't really...
Right.
Here we can see that Gurthang has moved his Chrono Boost to his Cybercore. Likewise, Fenton has not, actually opting for the slower Warp Gate technology. We have something to talk about with that once it finishes for either team, but we'll have to wait a few moments on that. One Adept out in the field. These things are beefy. Like, they have so much health on that thing.
So much, and their shields are just... Wow. So combining Adepts with Immortals are going to be great, because especially that shield boost thing, you get into a fight and it's pretty much, shields for days.
Next test, by the way, is going to replace the shield upgrade with an attack speed upgrade and lower their unit health by 30. So they're messing with that unit still. Admittedly, it was a little ridiculous with the shield upgrade. It actually became stronger than a Roach.
Okay.
In terms of its health.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. That is insane. Here we go. Gurthang finally warping in some army. We can't see what his composition's looking like. He's going to run an observer across the map, sort of peek in on Fenton's plans. Fenton.
So if you jump into Fenton's view, I'm not sure if you can actually see this or not, but one thing that will do, from his perspective, when he's warping something, and you can see it just took quite a while to warp in those 3 units at his front pylon. That is because that pylon is not sitting next to a warp gate or a nexus. If it's sitting next to either of those 2 structures, the units are warped in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically to make it harder to just scatter pylons around the map and use them for attacks, but to make it easier to defend with the mechanic. You can still do that offensively. They're trying to push you into doing it with the warp prism now, which always warps in things in 2 seconds.
Right. Which is scary for people that are receiving Protoss harassment.
Absolutely. I mean, it changes the kind of dynamic of the whole thing. You look at it, on the one hand, you think that kind of feels like a nerf, but there are ways in which it's not. So it's kind of fun to play with.
Gurthang losing his observer there to Fenton's cannon placed at the back line, so he didn't really get a whole lot of information there. He does know that he did not expand to the lower position.
So keep in mind that this is after the alteration to Zealots. So these Zealots, when they charge, do not do 30 damage on the initial hit, they do 8. So basically it's like saying they do 2 basic attacks the instant they strike the target. Little Heroes terminology, but it's technically accurate here too.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can see just in Legacy the way the units function now. They've taken kind of lessons from Heroes, sort of things that they've done. A lot of the abilities come to mind.
Speaking of warp prisms, we got one down here at the bottom of the map, warping in 4 Zealots for Gurthang. It looks like he wants to maybe harass this potential expansion, but it doesn't exist. There's one to the north here. Meanwhile, Fenton is actually moving out with an army of his own. And I think he's got adequate defenses for this, but his units are kind of spread out everywhere inside his base, so I'm not sure how well this is going to go.
Should be pretty good. I mean, Gurthang should be able to hold this off, especially if Fenton pushes in with his entire army. He has no way to get home very fast. This harass starts right as Fenton hits his front. That would be super good. There are 3 Adepts and 4 Zealots here. It's going to be super hard to kill.
2 cannons, Stalker. I believe Photon Overcharge only works on pylons, but the Mothership has gone to the front. Nope. Oh, that is such a cool wall setup.
Love it.
I just realized why he did that. I thought he was trying to create a wall, but he's actually doing something where he can shoot from the back of it and then turn these things into cannons. So it makes it really difficult to assault.
Yep, pylon coverage very good. Fenton pulling back, but now Gurthang's moving in with his little harassment here. He's got a couple of Stalkers added to the mix now.
Oh, Stalkers in the depths, lots of Zealots. This is actually a huge threat. And really, I like what he's doing here, going after the fences, going to hit the workers. When the workers leave, though, he should really just focus on the cybernetics core. Really mess with his opponent's ability to kind of resupply.
Pretty good.
Fenton is taking this as an invitation to attack.
Yep, Fenton doing it himself, trying to poke away at these buildings, depowering this Warp Gate, Twilight Council, and Cybernetics core. So Gurthang moving in trying to defend this, but he's getting some work done in Fenton's base, actually. Took down a couple of the cannons, a lot of photon overcharges going down on all these pylons here.
You can see that these do actually quite a bit of damage, though unfortunately it seems that the attack of Gurthang is likely to last a little bit longer here than Fenton's, which has kind of been, wouldn't say cleaned up. I mean, it's still there, obviously. He hasn't actually removed it. But the remaining force for Gurthang is a little bit stronger, so if this does turn into a base race scenario, our Orange Protoss should have a minor advantage.
Yep, you have to remember too, Gurthang does have this warp prism down here. Units are going to warp in 2 seconds. Fenton, however, does not have that luxury. Defender's advantage here for Gurthang, warping in these Zealots immediately, going to choke point.
And part of that would be fixed just by moving this pylon up a hex. If for some reason is, I think, not touching the Nexus.
That's right.
Oh, it is. Never mind. So he's fine. But yeah, it looks like, Gurthang has stabilized. He still has a cyber core. Both players do. Actually, surprised he let that live.
Gurthang in the super commanding position here. He's just dismantling Fenton's base, and Fenton GG's. Well played there by Gurthang, taking game 1.
So kind of interesting, really. Like, that's actually the sort of setup we might have seen from TVT in the past. I think in a lot of the games that we cast.
Okay.
Where there's kind of like simultaneous harassment going on of this variety, like a drop, moving across the map like that.
Right. No, it was super good. I love that from Gurthang, and the advantage of being able to warp in units that fast under a warp prism is insane.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Fenton's
short.
across the map, but I mean, even if he dropped a pylon, it would still take him like 16 seconds to even get a single zealot out there, so by the time he can reinforce his units, they've already evaporated.
Yeah, and if you're gonna do that frontal assault style like that, if you really didn't have the pylon set up beforehand and weren't like getting a gateway, you have to throw down a nexus next to the pylon to get that quick warp in.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a little bit awkward.
Right.
I think it's nice though. I feel like it encourages Protoss to have a little bit more planning with how they set up their attacks.
Right.
And I think that just fits the feel of the race a little bit better. Just much more like.
Well, I mean, it was. I'm going to call attention to the cinematic too, because I mean, if you notice that near that pylon there, I mean, you could probably consider there was a nexus somewhere nearby, because all the rest of the Protoss, it just dropped right in immediately almost.
You got to remember, those are campaign Protoss. Campaign Protoss do not function like multiplayer Protoss. You got to think of like multiplayer Protoss or like fringe Protoss groups with a standard set of units, whereas campaign Protoss groups, those are core Protoss military units with all of their shit kind of prepackaged.
Yep.
That doesn't happen. But yeah, I do want somebody to make a parody video where when the warp in starts, the zealot he plays back that thing where he looks behind him, just like plays the shot backwards, looks back out, goes back out, still shows them warping in really slowly.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. All right, cool. Head us into game.
I'm actually just hoping that's what Karabot does with it.
Yeah, no, that'd be pretty good. Yeah, the animated kind of stuff would be fun too.
Oh, the thing for closing the timer is Control T.
Uh-huh. I just gave it away to stream. Oops.
Well, sorry about that, stream. But anyway, in the top left part of the map, we have, here on Terraform, it is Gurthang, our orange Protoss.
And his opponent spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, the purple Protoss. This is a PvP yet again. It is Fenton. That chrono boost. Constant chrono boost. So perfect. So, we see Fenton starting off a little crazy already still.
Whoa, getting real aggressive. It looks like he wants to go for a classic proxy double gateway style attack. And these, just like in the past, they start off where you have to run your probe right out there immediately to get this stuff built. But because the economies are started up a little bit quicker, your window for this attack is much smaller. So I actually wonder if he's even close enough for this to work.
Yeah, Gurthang. Not over there either, so he's going to walk right by these. And the warp gates...
No, and he won Nexus first. Well, not Nexus first, but he went before the Cybercore. Which means that I think his ability to build defensive units against this might be a little bit strained.
You have to remember, too, now, the warp gates behave similar to a Nexus when you're warping units in, once they're transformed. You warp them in real fast, so if these buildings are connected to a pylon, and you warp a unit into the pylon, they drop right in.
So, if Gurthang knows his timings, as I imagine he does by now, this is probably really suspicious. I mean, he got in there and he's like, huh, you've got nothing else and you just started building a Cybercore. What are you doing? Are you hiding a Nexus somewhere? Where'd all that money go? Because I know that or you have like 600 minerals sitting in your bank, and I'm not that trusting.
What, did he go to the bathroom or something? Leave his workers AFK? What's going on?
And yeah, he's scouting again. He's like, what am I missing? He's trying to check this here. And we can even see back at base, Fenton's just being like, you know, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to build up our unit. All right, let's go, boys. Let's go. Back up at base, we can see that a mothership core is actually about to pop out. So he's going to have to focus down as many workers as he can to really do a lot of damage with this. There is a lot of danger because this thing can photon overcharge immediately now because it only costs 25 energy to activate a pylon.
Yep, there we go. Photon overcharge going down. The choke point here for Fenton's Zealots. Oh.
This is essentially shut down, I think. I mean, he was going to lose a couple workers out here. Maybe this Nexus. But, yeah, there's no pylons out here, so this Nexus is just dead. But he can't do any more damage than that. Not really.
So what happens if the Chrono Boost is on this Nexus and it dies? Does it reset?
Well, no, because it's coming from this Nexus, so this instance of Chrono Boost disappears.
Okay, so you can stack Chrono Boost.
But no, you can't put 2 Chrono Boosts on the same target. Yeah. That's not what I meant to imply.
Oh, okay.
So now he's saying, let's see if you have enough Photon Overcharge to stop me from doing this. The answer is, it looks like he didn't focus target it, and yes.
And yes.
Holy crap, those did a lot of damage.
They look cool, too.
Oh my gosh. Well...
Fenton's cheese successfully deflected here. Adept's coming out. The Zealot's not going to be able to fight that Adept. Nope.
Nope. Jeez. Okay, that's good. Wow. So you can do a build like he did and be perfectly safe against that. I mean, unless Fenton messed up something with his, like, initial setup. But, I don't know. I'd have to see a few games of this.
Gurthang knows where it is now. He ran the probe up there. He can see these gateways, and yeah, Adepts turn around and go, no, probably not.
So the thing is, yeah, a group of Adepts will beat a group of Zealots, just completely because of the bonus damage on the Adepts.
Yep, then they can just phase walk away, kind of thing.
Yeah, like, and he's got a Mothership Core. He's got the Cybernetics Core out now. He's trying to build some Stalkers, which will help. They don't take the bonus damage from the Adepts, but the Stalkers actually have less health than the Adepts do. So this is never a fun situation to be in, especially when it's 1 versus 5.
There we go.
Bad odds heroes and bad odds here too.
Yep, Adepts are going to chip away at these buildings now. Take every Stalker as they pop out. Eventually Fenton's going to lose these. Oop.
Yep. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure there's somebody who lost a game like this and then on the forums and I'm like, Adepts are stupid, and I'm like, I would be like, well, this is not really the fault of the Adepts in this case. Yeah. Not in this particular situation.
Yep. Fenton's plan from here doesn't look like it's changed. He's reconstructing these gateways as they go down. He does have a few minerals to be able to do this with. Transferring the Chrono Boost over.
I don't know about you, but when behind Dark Shrine?
Dark Shrine, yeah. Dark Shrine would be really smart. Your thing does not have detection.
Would anything else even work? I mean, he wouldn't have the unit for like 2 minutes, which is pretty brutal. And he's going to get mined out by then, I think. It's kind of a hopefully it works or I die sort of deal.
Yeah, he's going to hang on now. Hang on to something. He's trying to boost his defenses like as fast as he can now. He knows Gurthang's just going to move across the map now.
He's got a Guardian Shield in this group. It's going to make it very, very difficult for him. But he's got 1 pylon to help defend. It's kind of an Artosis pylon for all of his gateways. That's not cool.
Uh-oh. Gotta get focused by a couple of those Adepts, and it's over.
You can kind of see that there's like a structural difference between this wall and the one that Gurthang built.
Oh,
there
yeah.
isn't any space in the back, so all the units have to be fighting out at the front. All the ranged units. And yeah, there were more pylons with what Gurthang was doing. Here he can only buff the 1 pylon, but if 2 more pylons were there, this would be a formidable defense. Unfortunately, as well, this pylon he's actually fighting outside of the range of the pylon, so it's not going to do much good.
Sheesh, here we go. Photon overcharge going down, but Gurthang's units are really damaged. They're staying outside of the range of that.
Yeah, it's not that hard to do either, because it's basically a super marine, if you can visualize that in your head. So, like, yeah, it's a lot easier to deal with than Photon Overcharge on Nexus was. If you get shot by it, though, whew, it hurts.
Yep. Fortunately, Gurthang lost his Mothership Core here, so Fenton, Defender's Advantage is eventually going to be able to clean this up pretty easily.
Yeah, that increased warburn rate is enough, really, on its own. But the thing is, what do we got on the back of this? Mineral patches are starting to disappear for Fenton. Gurthang has a natural that he can kind of move his workers to. I think ultimately our orange Protoss will outlast our purple Protoss if he doesn't start doing something about his economy disadvantage. Whether that be destroying his opponent's workers or expanding himself.
Yep, he's expanding right now. It's pretty late in the game for this, unfortunately, so Gurthang's already rocketed ahead in that respect. He's got good chunk of minerals here in the bank for him. He could drop another Nexus if he really wanted.
Yep. You know, another thing that we see here is that, like, technically, this is the late game now. Most people would have had their thirds up.
Yep.
this is a strange thing to say, because normally we don't see that from 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute to 2 minutes. Gotta remember that the clock is also showing actual time.
Yeah, the clock is real now, and that's really weird.
Okay.
Both players kind of sitting back on their haunches here, getting their economies back in order. Gurthang dropping another robotics facility here this game. Looking to go back into Immortals, I suspect. Or, you know, detection.
More than likely.
Just in case, just in case. You're a Protoss,
right.
you know, you can...
When you've secured this kind of advantage, you do realistically need to ask yourself, how can I actually lose from this position? And it's always going to be detection and upgrades. They're going to be the biggest thing there.
Yep. Thank's got a mothership core back now, too. Yep, he's building his army back up. It already looks larger than Fenton's, I mean, to some degree.
He's ahead by about 27 supply.
Yep.
It's pretty solid.
Fenton's going to have to pull something out of his hat here.
But it is still possible for Fenton.
It is.
It's grim, but it's not over yet. How would you approach it in this situation?
Me, as Fenton, I would try to aggressively expand again, I think. You need to get ahead of his economy, because Gurthang, if you're scouting over here and you know that he has a third base, he's not going to, well, he's going to attack you right now, because he has more than you already.
He's sensing that he has an advantage and he wants to press it.
Yep.
I would like this move from Gurthang a little more if he would scout right now. Just kind of make sure.
Yep. Well,
I like that he's trying to set up a super pylon, though.
He is setting up a super pylon, and I think that's super good for him too, because he can drop zealots here, run in, pick off Fenton, because Fenton now, I mean, he's behind in economy already, and he's only just now saturating his natural, whereas Gurthang's had that for a while already. He's transferring workers, all that stuff, constructing a third base. So these workers are what's keeping Fenton alive right now. His main base is almost gone. So, you know, just poke away with a couple zealots at those, or, you know, run 2 adepts in there like an asshole. And
I feel like this is a very, like, what Gurthang is doing is just a very good follow-up when you're ahead like this.
Yep.
Because you have time, and your opponent most likely isn't going to be scouting the map because he's just terrified of losing any units.
Yeah, no, he's super terrified, yeah. Why would you walk out on the map right now?
So just, like, make really strong rally locations for your army, and then get ready to make that second push happen, or do this.
Yep, Gurthang hitting the double prong attack here. This is gonna hurt so bad for Fenton.
He's gonna scout with the sentry.
Scout with the sentry.
Sentry scout.
Checking the edge of stuff. Force fielding the ramp.
There's only 1 force field though. He's gonna need a few more force fields. He's warping it down. Yep, and now he's like, oh no, the door is shut. Oh wait, the door's open. Oh no, it's not.
Yeah, if the army can't get up here, there is no blink on these stalkers.
That sentry. That's the sentry with energy. Yeah. That's the block off.
There we go, keep it out.
That is brutal.
Super.
There's nothing he can do.
Super painful.
He really should be targeting the tech, because this location isn't really useful for mining anymore anyway. So getting rid of the Cyber Core, the Twilight Council, and the Forge really should be his #1 goals.
He did shut down and supply block him, though, so there aren't going to be very many reinforcements here unless he can take out some of these units. And...
Oh. No, honestly, it would be nice too for him to pick up a few of these with the War Prism, maybe get those sentries. Oh, okay.
Yep, Fenton though, running oracles across the map, trying to pick off some workers from Gurthang's natural. Super effective.
Yeah, there's just too much stuff. But like that engagement though was a little frightening.
Yep.
Yeah, even if he loses more of these oracles, the oracles give you an advantage later. They don't give you one now, and unfortunately, here comes the entire army of our orange Protoss.
And I mean, even though the army moved up into the main base to deflect this, I mean, there's still a gateway at the north, ready to warp in more units, and Gurthang, I think he's got this.
Nice.
Nice from Fenton.
And that's that.
Tank takes game 2.
Yeah, I'm just really seeing a lot of that, right? Like, the PvP matchup, there's this new dynamic with Warp Prisms now.
Warp Prisms they're so good.
They are.
I mean, they were good before, but now it's like, awesome. Double more awesome.
For some reason, when I saw, like, I have my menu screen set to the planets instead of Kerrigan at the moment. And I looked at the planet, and it made me think about that scanning thing from Mass Effect 2 for some reason.
Launching probe.
Launching probe.
Probe away.
Nothing there.
Yep.
Or the thing in Mass Effect 3 where you're, like, kind of running a, I guess, mineral scanner across the thing.
Yeah. Did you ever try to, did you go to the Sol system at all in Mass Effect 3 and run scans on Uranus?
Essentially empty. But yeah, I did that too. That was fine.
Probing Uranus.
Really?
Really, Commander?
Really?
Probing Uranus. So anyway, game 3 here between Fenton and Gurthang on Dash and Terminal as a PvP. This is going to be really... I smell cheese already. This map is so cheesy.
Yeah, it can be. Like, this is one of those maps that can kind of go out either way, but the problem with it is that like, getting that second, third base is just awful, because there's so many attack paths. Of course, with Protoss, your bigger problem is just that there's a lot of locations to drop now, I guess. It's a weird set of things to have said, but they are definitely there.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, in the middle right of the map, we have our orange Protoss player, currently ahead 2-0. It is Gurthang.
And his opponent spawning in the top center location, aka the left of the map. Purple Protoss player's opponent is Fenton. Down 2 games, but do it, I believe. Believe.
So this is, like, this is a rough spot for anyone to be in. This is why, kind of like in terms of sports psychology, it's often said that the most important game is not the one where you win the championship, but the one immediately before.
Yep. Because
the pressure that sets up on your opponent is huge.
Yep. Decisive battle.
But still, comeback sweeps do happen. It's obviously not a good thing. We have another
this is true.
Scout.
We've seen people come straight from all the way back to taking it over, winning. So I mean, it's not impossible at all.
Nope. It's kind of interesting that he's going with a probe scout here. I would love to talk to him. Like, if unfortunately I know the Gurthang is not going to be here today for a post game interview. But if he was, one of the things I would ask him is why he likes to go for this probe scout rather than simply wait for adepts. And there's some reasons I can expect to hear from that. Like, one of my imagine is just that it's easier to get the, like, to not mess up your macro scouting this way.
Right.
Or he might actually think that maybe it's just better to not start out with adepts right away. Might like to go into them a little later on, just use the money for something else. As we can see, he typically goes with this Nexus, which I think you couldn't do right away if you were on for that setup.
Yeah, if you're going straight for adepts, I mean, you're putting... How much do adepts cost? Do they cost gas?
Oh, they do, like 25. They're kind of like a Reaper, but Zealot terms, so like 25 additional minerals and gas, I believe.
Okay, so about as much as a Stalker, then.
No. And it looks like, yeah, he likes to go down more the tech path, where a lot of other people, you see them go double gas, get 2 gateways, and then pump out adepts while getting the expansion a little bit later. Gurthang's asking his opponent if he's getting lag, who he apparently is not.
Nope, you good?
There might be like a spot of text in a moment when they pause. Now I am. Okay. That's a little bit scary. I mean, you never really know. You never really know sometimes what that can be. Sometimes it's your own internet, somebody else using it, somebody down the street messing with it.
Somebody down the street messing with it. Yeah, there you go. People forget about that all the time. You are not the only house. Yep, you're not the only house on the street using it. So,
if you're unfortunate enough to have satellite internet, then it could be the clouds.
The clouds.
Not the cloud, but the clouds.
The clouds. Yes.
Oh, by the way, something weird. If you look in this docking bay up here, next to where Fenton's base is, which is docking bay, if you look at the back of that truck, I'm fairly certain that might be a Protoss unit. No,
docking bay.
It's a Marine.
Over here.
It just kind of looked like a Protoss unit. There's like a truck with a mounted gun on the back of it, and like a truck with some Vespene gas in it. Just a bunch of dead people in that corner.
Yeah, I see that. There's a dead Ultralisk too.
Yeah.
So they did take the Ultralisk out. Huh.
Okay. Well,
Those are Protoss. No. Protoss Marines.
Ultralisk. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I was like, it would be kind of neat to have like something like that on one of the maps where it looks like a bunch of Protoss and Terran units for fighting something. Maybe they'll do that in some of the maps for Legacy of the Void.
So, what do we call attention to? Fenton opting to expand first this game. He's not walling, or he's not going across the map, proxying an attack. He's not mounting for an attack. He's changed his mind from those last two games. Playing it safe.
Well,
gonna get a Nexus.
This is what he hasn't tried yet, and this is what a lot of people will do in this situation is they start to feel like that whatever style of play that they were previously using isn't working, or he feels that this is his strongest style of play. That's really what you should do, though. Anytime you have a big game that's on the line, don't think about too much about what's happened in the previous games. If rushing is your best strategy, rush. If macro is your best strategy, macro.
Yep, you have to do what you're good
at in the game where everything is on the line. Always.
That's
it might
totally
make you
true.
a little predictable, but that's how you pull up miracle wins.
Yeah, Gurthang opening up the warp gate. He's got the warp prism going out. He's going to move it toward Fenton's base. Super scary for Fenton right now. He's not going to spot this coming until it gets here, and then those zealots are going to warp in so fast.
Yeah, I'm not sure how great, really, a totally passive strategy is in this particular game. I'm honestly feeling that for any race you're playing, you probably should have some aggression. That feels like that's kind of the meta at the moment with all the games that I've watched. And that's fine. I do wonder, though, where it will end up in the long run.
Right.
I wonder if Rain's going to find a way to play Protoss without ever leaving his base.
Guess we got going down for Fenton. One behind. Grind.
When you're behind the series, I guess.
Yep, he is behind, technically.
But this opening from Gurthang really does give him a lot of strength against this. He already has the Robo-Bay down, so if DTs do show up, as long as he controls well, he might lose maybe 4 or 5 probes, but he can get an observer out and shut this down. Unless, of course, he's building something else at the time, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Oh, he's actually using the warp prism to transport a probe. He's going to expand to the island location.
This is cheeky, but honestly, I've never liked this on any map where you could do it because it's so hard to defend if the game goes on for any length of time.
Right.
You either have to invest like thousands of minerals and static defenses, or like position your army in between the expansion and his base.
I mean, Gurthang, we see the last couple games, Gurthang's exploiting the fact that Fenton doesn't really scout.
That does seem to be the case. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't really scout. I mean, Fenton has, if you just look at his vision, he doesn't even know where his main base is. He knows, but what's in there? No clue.
Yeah, so I guess against this particular opponent, this is probably a really solid strategy. I do wonder if he's doing that consciously. You might have looked at the previous games that they played and come to that conclusion.
Totally possible, but the DTs are on the field now, moving out across the map toward Gurthang's base. Gurthang does have an observer, but it is not at home currently. It's watching the army. Gurthang kind of missed the move out there.
There is a cannon here in the natural, so if he approaches from the top left angle, he will be sighted. If he goes around the right side, he can just break down the pylon and walk in. But it looks like he wants to go for the debris. Unfortunately, this is going to be pretty predictable.
Yep, and if Gurthang's...
He's probably going to just shoot these things when they're walking past.
Yep, he can hear it.
He knows.
He knows they're there.
And yeah, okay, break that down, walk away. That's actually fair.
Totally valid. Yep.
But he knows now there's going to be more cannons.
More cannons going down, yep, and Fenton's moving across the map using that as his cue. He does have a lot of adepts in this army now. He saw how good they were last game, and
he would actually be better off morphing these into Archons and leaving them as they are, I think. But, well, here comes the army. Ooh, is he going to try and draw him out to engage away from his defenses? He is trying that.
Trying to pull him into the choke point here. He wants to get as much the effectiveness out of these DTs away from the cannons.
I think he should also be somewhat concerned about the force fields, that there's a lot of force fields in Fenton's army right now, and these pylons give him a lot of defensive power as well. He just needs to react and actually utilize the pylons. But I like that. He draws them out, loses a couple zealots, and just walks away. Of course, and both players now have expansions, but Gurthang has cited this, and this is why I don't like this. If your opponent also expands, you just have a shitty expansion. And he doesn't.
Yep.
Granted, Gurthang is going air now, so we might actually be seeing a tech counter.
Yeah, he's moving into Void Rays. Void Rays are super good, especially, you see Fenton's army is very stalker-heavy, armored units. Void Ray bonus armor damage. It's good stuff.
Yeah, if you ever find yourself playing Protoss and you're in this kind of, like, flood, like, kind of, this weird, stalematey sort of mid-game situation, your opponent seems to be taking up into ground army, Mass Void Rays actually crushes that pretty hard. The only way that they don't just get annihilated to it is if they figure out what you're doing and kill you before you mess them up.
Yep.
Or they have to go into High Templar and Archons. They might be doing that already, but it's not as common in PvP as I'd say it is. Ooh, Stasis Ward. Stasis Mine going to freeze half of this army. Now he has to keep this here or just accept losing half of his army when they unfreeze. So this is just a real crappy situation to engage in. But the forces engaging here for the Orange Protoss are actually few and far between. There's only a few sentries and an Immortal, which is really not enough, and he's actually losing a few units.
Thanks. Time Warp going down, but it doesn't matter. The force field's going to keep this army out just for a moment, but, yeah. Everything kind of in a scary spot at the moment.
I feel like he had more army units than that. Oh, that's because, yeah, carriers. They take up a lot of army space.
Yep. He's working on carriers. Super good.
They're hiding in the top right. He's got to be wondering. Your army doesn't seem to be growing in size. Why, right?
Right. I mean, just watching the front line, yeah.
Stasis Mine. Oh, that's amazing. I love this. Because, like, when this stasis mine goes off, the units also form a semi-wall, and they actually force his opponent to go through a choke point.
Yep.
That's so cool.
Yep, Fenton's got to be careful now. I mean, he's seen this trick once, so will he avoid it?
And now he's just going to attack the other side, and then when his opponent responds, he walks away.
Force field going down, and ooh, stasis mine, choking out these zealots. Let them stream in. Force field goes down behind them.
Yeah, this is just an awful place to attack. I'd really like the way he set this up. I mean, this is, again, the kind of defense that works well in this situation takes a long time to build. It really, really does. So this is hard to pull off against rushes, but if you got the time to do it...
Guess what's coming?
Not bad.
Carrier reinforcements.
Okay, yeah, this is going to kind of shut this down because the stalkers can't get anywhere close to these things. And if he wants to, he can just drop, with the special new ability of the carrier, all eight of one carrier's interceptors on that, like, choke point, and then they just can't walk through that location.
Super awesome. Yep, these units are going to drop out of the stasis and get shredded. Awesome. Oh, I love carriers so much.
Someone asking, are we doing a full swap over on November 10th? Yes.
Yes, we are.
The weekend following that will be only Legacy of the Void matches. We will no longer do Heart of the Swarm stuff at that point, unless we have leftovers from before November 10th.
Okay, a little bit of harass from Gurthang, dropping some zealots with a warp prism, and oof, these carriers just moving across the map, destroying everything on the way. Fenton's he's gotta make a decision here, quick, do something.
This harassment is still breaking stuff, but it's mostly just production buildings that are going down. Which is not cool, but, I mean... Oh, both players are suffering from this. I think Fenton's going to hold this off a little bit sooner, though. If Gurthang doesn't actually move his units back. I guess he's just going to accept the damage.
I'm going to accept the damage, soak the energy here out of the Mothership Corp. These carriers are moving up to the natural. There's nothing here to defend.
No, the carriers might be a bigger threat at the end of the day, and they kill buildings way faster than Zealots.
Oh, yes they do.
Look at that.
Little lasers everywhere. This Nexus is gonna just disappear.
And Gurthang's trying to corner with some units. There's really only a handful for him to deal with, because the rest are down below, so he's going to attack with the probes, which as you can see does not work too good. But back at home in his own base, he now has the carriers coming up into his main. And I think we're going to see a weird base race scenario where my dislike of his island base is actually going to turn out to be a key factor.
A boon.
Because it, like, definitely is the case that Fenton has no idea that base is there.
Yep, he hasn't scouted, guys. Scouting, super important. Doesn't know that that base exists, so I mean, Gurthang he's already got kind of an ace in the hole here.
Now, having the Dark Shrine at this point is really good. If he has any working gateways, he should warp in 1 DT somewhere. anywhere.
Yep, that would be super awesome. I mean, he could really use it at this point. Gurthang's got a couple observers,
but... Yep. Yeah, the Zealot army just can't do anything about the carriers, though. Eventually he can just find the Zealot army and kill it.
Man, so good play here by Gurthang going for the carriers. Super good in Legacy.
They are. It's that decreased production time. The fact that you can get them out in a reasonable amount of time is so huge.
Oh, Gurthang's Oracle gonna get taken out by this cannon. Not really paying attention.
Ooh.
Oh, there it goes. Fenton's still working on Gurthang's base. It's just really weird situation.
Yeah. Dark Shrine is dead. There are no DTs. It's unfortunate. We have a single Void Ray trying to be made by Gurthang, but the pylons have been killed. So that's not happening.
Pylons are gone, yeah.
For some reason, I think that's Gurthang who wants to expand. Not there. Sorry, Fenton wants to expand on Gurthang's base. I would like this if he did it on his third, but there's nothing there.
Wow. Yep, Gurthang just making a rotation here with these carriers. Fenton is running out of buildings very quickly, and he has no idea where these other buildings are. He's dropping a Nexus, but...
He actually can't get to them. He needs to build air, or a robotics bay, and get a warp prism. And without either, he'll never actually be able to stop Gurthang's base.
Got enough minerals. He's reconstructing these interceptors, and he's going to move right in. And I mean, there are only zealots here for Fenton. This looks super painful.
Oh, notice he actually is using a warp prism to project a power field until that pylon came up.
Very good move.
That's fancy. We don't see people do that much. And likewise, Fenton is also kind of trolling around the map looking for things to kill. He's not going to find him, though. I think he forgot about the island base entirely. Your base is on that island. Now he remembered.
He knows.
Now the Zealots are trapped.
Yep, Zealots are trapped. They've been spotted. Carriers moving in. There is no flying for Fenton. He has no flying tech. Air.
Yar, maybe?
GG, Fenton taps out Gurthang. Takes the best
he tried
of 5.
to say I, and he hit the R at the end. It's right next to the E key. I've never noticed that. That's funny.
Oh. Super good. Gurthang
okay, so best of 5 sweep by Gurthang, 3-0. Gotta say, really solid work from him. He's clearly played a lot of Legacy of the Void, and he understands it pretty well. Like, we're not... obviously... Yeah, he's not, like, Master's level Legacy of the Void or whatever. But... Like, you can see there's a lot of tiny little cool touches all over the place with the way he sets up his base, and I just really loved watching that.
Yeah, it was great. He seems to have pretty solid knowledge of stuff, and Fenton did pretty well too, considering he didn't really scout too much. I mean, if he had scouted some of that stuff, I think that would have gone a lot differently. He would have seen that base, he would have built air, and the end of that game would have gone much different.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we don't have Gurthang here, so there's not going to be a post-game interview, but I would like to remind you that we do have another match that will start in about 17 minutes. So we will see you guys then, but that one will be on Heart of the Swarm. See you in a little bit.